All right. I am pleased to have Mr. Mahlombe. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hi, everybody. I'm at the Staggers today. This is Musa Mahlombe, the Analytical Chemist graduate. Should I mention the other qualifications?
Feel free. Go as deep as possible.
It sounds like I'm bragging.
That's why I have that's why I have excellent people on the podcast, so that they can just indulge us of what they're doing. Sure. Because sometimes it's hard for people to actually celebrate themselves and just put down their accolades. But feel free to just say everything in your portfolio. Sure. And funny enough, funny story is, in a sense, I feel like this could be some form of reference. If let's say someone is applying for a job, they said, okay, please go listen to this thing. This is the project that I've done. This is what I've done. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I hope for all my guests, when they come through, they should just see it as, in a sense, as they're just putting their brand out there. Sure. Okay, this is what I do, and this is what I have done. Okay. And then that way it makes it easier for them to also just refer them. Because these recruiters, sometimes what they do is they go on your social media and check what kind of a person you are, what kind of content do you post. That's and true. Imagine if they actually search you online and they see it's like a podcast, then they see everything there, all the titles. They're like, oh, okay.
That is why we have like the
LinkedIn's, exactly.
It exposes
exactly. And you can actually put this podcast on your LinkedIn portfolio and say, okay, I've done this kind of content, and it makes it easier for someone to say, okay, this is the type of person that, yes, they kind of understand. Okay. I think that would be a nice venture for the podcast. But anyways, let me not hijack you. So you can you're still telling me.
Okay, so I've studied also projects management. Recently qualified, finished my project management advanced diploma. Yep. And I'm currently journeying into postgrad diploma in projects management.
Nice.
And I'm also looking into statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that building up to with a certain goal.
Awesome. Analytical chemistry.
Sure.
What do analytical chemistry chemists do?
Okay, so with analytical chemistry, it's a very broad course or field, if I may put it that way. It's a very broad field that entails opportunities in various industries such as agriculture, forensic, pharmaceuticals, where I am actually at now, mining, fuel, you name it, food industries.
Sure.
You have, that's why I chose, because I just wanted to have many choices.
Oh yeah, of
wherever I can
industry
go,
you want to go. Sure.
Anytime.
Sure.
If food industry opens, I'm here.
Yeah.
So it's a very broad industry that most of the analysts that are qualified, the primary qualification, which is the undergraduates mostly, they go into quality control, which is the laboratory where you test products to meet a certain specification that it needs to meet. So as our specification need to speak into a certain criterion that will not affect the consumer. Let's say, for instance, speaking of pharmaceuticals, if you are taking a pill, Panadol, or you are taking any type of medicine, tablet, whatever it is. So it has to be tested. It passes many stages. So after production, it's made and it's done, filtered, and to check the microbes to see that if anything of contamination from the bodies or microorganisms that can have a bad impact on the body. And then it goes to like the chemistry, which is us, which is me, who tests different different things, so that it meets certain criterions that before it's released to the market, it's said to have a confidence that a person can take it.
Nice. I think I like how you explain it. When I get to what you actually do, which is a very interesting and, in a sense, a bit controversial because of where we're coming from.
Sure.
But what's the difference between chemical and analytical chemist?
Chemical and analytical. Are you saying chemical engineering?
Chemical engineer, yeah.
Chemical engineering and analytical chemistry, they are sister courses or sister fields.
Okay.
So one has, analytical chemistry has the basic studies where we deal with instrumentation on how to test the product, on to literally learn about the basic of, to as little as an atom. Also, chemical engineers do that, but they are more into processing certain. So if I'm saying for analytical chemistry in an industry perspective, you take a product, you want to produce a product, a specific product.
Yeah.
You then have engineers who say, I have this tank, I have this system that will run all this product from raw materials, which is like your ingredients, for it to get to a finished product.
Sure.
That's the engineers to tell you how long it should spin, what's the heat it must be exposed to. They deal with all of that.
Yes.
But us, after they've done with all the mess they've done, all the interesting things that they've done.
Sure.
I'm sorry, engineers. We come and say, okay, whatever you have done, they also come into testing as well.
Sure.
But for us, we are mainly into qualifying and controlling and assuring all of that. So it comes to us as this is a sample. A sample is if I can mention, let's say you are taking, you have a wife, she's cooking, she's taking a spoon of gravy
to make me
taste.
Yeah.
That's a sample. She's not eating the whole pot to say.
Sure.
Yeah. So a sample is basically a piece of a bulk to say, okay, this is how much must be tested, which is equivalent to the totality of the bulk itself.
Whole batch, yeah.
Sure. So chemists take the small thing and test it and say, from this, all things are passing. Then engineers, what you have done is correct. If it's wrong, we go back to engineers and say, something was wrong.
There's a fault within the
There's a fault. Let's say if we have pH testing, if we have appearance, it's if a peel was supposed to be white and then it's gray, what happened? So we then go back and say, no, it's not passing.
Sure. Which makes sense why you want to go into statistics and...
I do. It's a very broad
sure.
course as well.
Because I mean, you're dealing with a lot of data, and you need to be able to not only be an analytical chemistry, but being able to work with all these data.
Sure.
And I don't know what data scientists do, but I guess be able to pull out a report in a sense. Do you guys do reports as well?
Yes, we do. So what happens is what I've been actually involved in was method development.
Okay.
I've worked with a lot of method developments where it starts with observing first. Let's say we have a new product in place.
Sure.
So I have to, we have criterions and parameters that we have to meet to say these parameters before you have a report. Before you have a report, your report, before it's executed, before it's finished from an execution point of view, you have to have a protocol. A protocol is to tell you that this is how you must do this. For you to meet the expectations, it must be from the protocol itself. So your protocol says, it's sort of like a proposal. You say, this is what I want to do. Then when it's reviewed, it's looked into, does it meet the regulatory requirements? Let's say we have linearity, we have accuracy, we have intermediate precisions. These are the parameters you have to look first by testing before you say this test method can be.
So it's basically like some form of a standard, which is
Sure.
which is made by the company. They said, okay, if you're making water or drinks, this is how we are expecting it to be like.
No.
They said,
Okay.
okay.
We have like a South African regulatory.
Or you mean like something like a sense code?
Yes.
Okay.
We have like you
Some
name the
national standards, yeah.
SAPRAs, you name, but those regulatories go into observing their pharmacopoeias, which we call the Bible of pharmaceuticals, which tells you what needs to be done.
Sure,
You
sure.
can't invent your own thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they look into, does it meet what the international standards require
Sure.
for you to be able to say these parameters must be tested. It actually points it out as well to say these are the things you need to follow to qualify a certain method.
This I don't want to make this interview controversial, right?
Okay.
But for you as an analytical chemist, right?
Sure.
Do you get to a point where you, let's say maybe if you're testing maybe baby food,
Sure.
or you're testing maybe tinned food, right?
Okay.
And then you get to a point where you realize that, hey, this thing that I'm seeing here is not good for maybe a human body, but it's already been shown that it must be passed in the maybe standard of the company. Does that like happen, first of all? And number two is it also contradicting when you get to a point like that?
Look, there are times when maybe a batch fails.
Okay.
It goes under investigation to say, okay, it did not meet a certain specification
Sure.
we require.
Yeah.
Before it even goes for assurance, we first have to investigate it, what happened. Because sometimes it can be human error, it can be instrument-based error. What really happened? Was it preparation?
Or
Was
probably
it
the machine was just
was faulty?
too faulty,
So-
or old. something
Sure.
Like that. Yeah.
So
sure.
what we have for instruments, we have like a standard procedure where we say, okay, cool. We have an opening bracket to say, if this standard passes, you can continue because it shows that the instrument is good to test.
Sure.
And you have a closing bracket.
Yeah.
And then that closing bracket says, whatever happened in between was not faulty.
Sure.
So when you look into an investigation and you look into that, the pre and the post passes. It's not the instrument. Was it the human who was testing? Was it the reagents which were prepared? So there's literally small things that
Need to
may
be
be
scrutinized,
overlooked,
yeah. Sure.
but they really scrutinize that when they are doing investigations.
Sure.
And then we come and bring the QA, which is the quality assurance, where they know the regulations, where they know the standards, okay, how to investigate, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, all of those things to say, before we throw away a batch, probably was it an analyst, before we say we are throwing away
The whole batch.
the whole batch, which costs the company quite a lot.
Yeah.
So we get to those points, but based on data integrity, you can't pass anything that you see it's failing.
Which makes sense, because I'm actually thinking of there's so many instances where, like, let's say sardines
Being recalled.
or beans. They said, okay, there's this certain batch number.
Sure.
If you've bought beans, please return it because of whatever reason.
So what happens is, let's say, for instance, from pharmaceutical, I know from a pharmaceutical
Sure.
Point of view.
Sure.
Let's say, for instance, you're injecting a child a vaccine, and the child is so lean. For us, that's an alert. Something is wrong.
Sure.
Needs to be investigated.
Okay.
Now it comes back and say, who tested it? It comes back and say, who
Which
approved
engineer? Sure.
Which engineer? What process? Was the process fine? So they scrutinize from
Almost
the
everything,
point
yeah.
of pressing a button. At what time was it pressed?
From the raw material,
from
up
the
until
raw
the end of the
material
actual,
itself, to say,
sure.
before you even produce this product, how are your raw materials? So until they see that, there was something wrong here, it was overlooked. Sometimes it may not be the product itself. Maybe it was the container integrity. Maybe a certain vial was not properly
sterile.
Now it breaks the sterility.
Sure.
So now if you're introducing a sterile product, a non-sterile product into a child, then it becomes an issue.
Makes sense. Just to think about something like investigating side of things.
Sure.
Who investigates? Is there like what do you call this? A division within the company that does the investigation, or is it you guys who does the investigation, or is it quality assurance who does the investigations?
It starts from QC, and then it goes to QA, and then, but there's a collaboration of decisions that are made for decision making.
Sure. So getting into the actual meat. So you work with viruses, right? And
Yes.
Not viruses rather, but you work with vaccines.
Sure.
Instead, right? So how is it like if we were to paint a picture of what you're doing? This is what you're doing, and in a sense, because when I was just thinking about this interview, I was actually thinking of the myths and the stereotypes which people already have in their mind.
Sure.
Because COVID-19 made us not to have a good relationship with vaccines.
Sure.
So maybe try to explain what you do, and just to at least have someone to have an idea.
Okay. So I work with vaccines.
Okay.
From a testing perspective. Sorry. But my understanding on vaccine, I know many people are against vaccines because of the COVID-19.
Sure.
But I believe vaccines are good.
Okay.
Vaccines are good for immunization. So what vaccines do, if you are immunizing a child, you are saying, I'm introducing a virus, an active, not the actual virus, an active of the virus into your body.
Wait, what does that mean, active of the virus?
It's a component that the virus operates on.
Okay.
That is not really the dangerous part of it, but it's the if I can say, it's the heart of the virus. To say that if I am putting this strain in a vaccine, I'm introducing it to your body so that your body fights it early. So that if the virus comes in contact with you,
Sure.
then your body already recognizes that we have seen something like this.
Sure.
So it's basically a technology to say, this is how we are trying to help and say, we're introducing you to an active so that your body is alert that there's something like this. Yes, in the few days, even with flu vaccines, you get to have like a few symptoms, but over time they die. And then when you are now doing, maybe you are exposed to winter and now flu, others are coughing, others are having, you are fine because why? The body has already, not that you have not had contact with the flu. It's just that your body recognized it and say, if ever something like this comes, we're already prepared for it.
Okay. And then when you're testing, do you have to have like, because like you said, that analytical chemistry, you're on the control, not the testing rather.
Sure.
Right. There are different places where you can actually work. For you to work where you're working now as a tester, did you have to have like a background on biology, viruses, and all those stuff?
Look, when I studied my analytical chemistry, we
Sure.
had a quality-related module.
Okay.
that introduced us to biotechnologies and all of these things, so that we know because let me say, a virus is a protein. It's a certain strain of a protein.
Okay.
So if you're taking a strain from a protein, introducing it to a body, it's basically having an understanding of, okay, I'm introducing this to a person so that the person recognizes from a DNA perspective to say, okay, this is a strain. Because how they develop in your body is that strain, let's say a virus itself, comes in contact.
Yeah.
Then it comes into your body, changes a structure, a little bit of a structure into your body. So that's why sometimes you get maybe the symptoms are lumps and all that and all, because on that particular lump, the DNA has introduced a certain strain that now builds up. When now it builds up that particular virus.
Oh, so it's kind of like changing the
strain
natural
of your
order
body.
of
Sure,
stuff, yeah,
sure.
by introducing a different foreign body. into
So
it.
basically, you have to, you have to have the background. If you are testing on the basis of your understanding and the basis of your qualification. I'm a chemist, so we have biological testings, we have microbiology. So those people deal with different components of the testing. They are dealing with, okay, is this strain meeting the spec? Okay, is it fine? So that it's not over expressed on the product, so that it does not affect the body of a person.
So with that said, right?
Sure.
You are testing the COVID-19 vaccines, right?
Sure.
What are you looking for, and then what is the test process like?
For COVID-19 purposes, I haven't dealt with them. It's just a matter of the understanding of them. For COVID-19, you get maybe being swabbed and all that. So they are tested in particular. That's related to sampling a person.
Okay.
But from a perspective, it should be the same as other vaccines, such as like polios, TB vaccines, and all of those flu vaccines that we know of. So they all follow a certain process before approval.
I see.
So it's a standard application. It's a standard process that they all follow to meet a specific requirement.
And then maybe to mention the testings that you are doing, maybe on the day-to-day. What kind of vaccines are you working with? Are you working, like you were saying, polio and other stuff?
I can't disclose that.
Oh,
I can't disclose that because that one is a very critical one.
Sure.
But we deal with a lot of vaccines.
Yeah. No, I really understand that. I really understand that. And then maybe to switch to work ethic and growing within the company. We were just having conversation just before this, and you were just mentioning certain things which I feel like they are very much important into setting up someone within the company. How did you put yourself in a way that you are excelling at your work?
When I started as an intern. Many years ago.
Yeah, sure.
A while back. For me, it was a privilege because I started as an intern in a form of an in-service training.
Yeah.
That got me into an opportunity to sell myself.
Yeah.
And to put an extra mile, and to a point where I remember it was sort of like they had forgotten that my contract is ending. Like, it's ending. So it actually created a certain confidence for me to say I had used that opportunity to do as much as I can. For me, the main point, or the main thing I had always focused on, I don't want to do only one thing. You get to a point where you do things over and over, over and over.
Yeah.
Something that is routine work.
Yeah.
That is not an issue. Routine work is one of the things I do. But I always want to do something new to become an asset. So most of the time, many people are expecting things to come, to be spoon-fed, if I can put it that way. To say, come do this. But for me, I had always said, this is what I want. If I'm not doing anything, this is what I want. If I'm not doing anything at work, please do me a favor. Give me something to do because I don't have anything to do. So I've always sought for an opportunity to do something, to excel in it, to a point where if I am doing it, I need to do it as much as I can to see that if I am I'm recognized, or for a point of a recognition, it's a point of I need to do something to say, if Musa does it, I know it's done.
So you're putting legitimacy with your work ethic as well.
Sure.
The only thing the one thing that I was actually, when you're saying that, I was actually thinking is where do you get this mentality? Did you something that you picked up growing up, or where is this coming from? Do you just, because remember some of these things you don't get taught at school.
Sure.
So where are you getting this thing so that this is what I must do?
Sure. Okay. So when I started studying, I had an interest in chemistry, but not mainly to just do testing and all, but I wanted to be an impact and to people with a target to do something, to make a change, to bring a change, and to be useful, to be an asset. But I would say the most important opportunity I got for me was getting to have an opportunity with my pastor, who has taught me so much to become where I am. Look, he would teach me things. That are related to my work. When I go and apply them,
Sure.
Whenever I'm doing something, I've always done it in a point of being taught.
Yeah.
You see, he always told me that no man makes himself. And I've always allowed myself to be taught. Although being taught is not as easy.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as dishing up a plate. But it's a process of understanding and acknowledging that I'm here to learn. I'm here to be built up. To be a great man requires a giant who have been in that position so that I can see myself in that position as well.
Yeah.
So you can't build yourself, or you can't be following, or you can if you decide to. But for me, I've followed because I understand where my father is, my pastor is, how he understands me, and how he has impacted people in a sense of he has done many things, great things. And I've always wanted to do great things in my area, in my field. And I'm doing so. With confidence, I'm doing so. So it's a point of being taught and being teachable and being correctable.
No, I like that. The idea of having a mentor or pastor who gives you direction. Because I think the good thing about having a mentor or a pastor is they don't necessarily have to be in that field, but whatever they will tell you is going to be something which will give you an edge over people who you're working with.
Sure.
And on that, how do you best maximize the relationship between your mentor and applying that information into maybe let me just put it into the applying. How are you transitioning from receiving the information and actually applying? Because I mean, most of us will actually listen to YouTube channels or maybe we have mentors online or whatever, but you don't have that follow-up of actually going to do those things.
Okay.
How were you applying yourself, in a sense, to do?
Okay. So for me, the major thing I have done, or the major principle I have taken, is application.
Okay.
Whenever you are taught something, whenever you receive information, you can only benefit from it until you apply it.
Sure.
Because most of the people, they will hear mentors, they will hear YouTube teachings and all these great people, motivational speakers who will give you motivation, which is true. But along the way, if you don't apply, it's also useless to say, I'm listening, but when I'm going back to application, like, oh, this thing is hard.
Yeah.
If it's hard, but I'm going forward. That's the point.
Sure.
That's the critical point. For me, it has always been that if I'm taught something, let me do something and see if it will work. If it doesn't work, let me go back. What did I miss? Yeah. So it's a matter of also introspective point of view to say, I am sitting down. Let me self-introspect. What did I do? What went wrong? Okay. Even if it's something that I have successfully achieved, what happened? How did I achieve it? Because most of the time we only do self-introspective introspection when we are facing downfalls, but not we are facing milestones.
When you're winning,
So even if it's a milestone, a recognition of how it happened, it's powerful.
Sure.
Because it helps you to say, at any time, if I do this one, it will work.
Sure.
So for me, that has been the main thing that I have done.
Oh, so the ability to actually apply and, in a sense, give yourself an audit to find out, okay, how this is a fail. This is how did I get to this fail?
Sure.
And you scrutinize that process. And the same thing
same
with
as the
the
investigation that you see, it also helped me.
So in a sense, you apply.
So it's all of those nitty-gritty, small things that you may overlook.
Yeah.
That you may think that, okay, it's successful, life goes on. Life doesn't go on until I look on how did I get to this position.
It's like you want to be able to repeat the success that you have done. Sure.
So it's just a matter of application and recognizing how did I get there.
And I like that so much. And I don't want us to take us back.
Okay.
But just to take us back a little bit, maybe you might have touched on it a little bit, which is the analytical chemistry.
Sure.
What inspired you to doing analytical chemistry?
Look, when I was a young boy, I used to take vinegar. I think one thing that interested me, that put an interest in me, was having to take a bicarbonate from my mother's cupboard, and I took a vinegar.
Sure.
When I combined them, they did something.
Sure.
I'm like, how did this thing happen? So that was the foundation of interest.
That's where it started.
It all started from there. That's when I even saw that if you're putting a 5 cent into it, cleans it. How did this thing happen? So it's not only that, but it also built in me to become better and to become a change into our nation. I'm not only starting to fulfill a certain someone's goal. I'm fulfilling my own goal. I have a set goal that I have. As I've mentioned earlier on, I've studied projects management, not because I'm just looking for a door for projects management. So what I've done is, having analytical chemistry is a background. Projects management, we deal with a lot of projects at work. So I need to do something about projects so that if ever I am involved, if ever they require someone, if ever they require someone who has projects, in that particular field.
Sure.
You don't have to look for someone elsewhere to come and fill in when there's already someone who has that capacity to fulfill that. So as I've mentioned, also statistics, these are the requirements that we look into for the future, because even what I do, many people may think that, hey, I know this guy just wants to chow, he's just trying to take everything. I'm taking everything for myself.
Sure.
But someone else can also take it. Someone else can also do it.
Because in a sense, you're making yourself competent, so that I think you said it even before, that when you work on a project and when they see that Musa was doing this, they know that, if he's there,
Musa, it's done.
It's 100%.
So I had created myself an opportunity and an integrity for myself, and for me to be able to do many things. It starts from small. That's what my pastor taught me. That if you do make your name, create your name.
Sure.
No one will create it for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a way that you have to do things that will help you in the future. Small things like finishing a document quicker. Small things like when I'm doing a test, I know that it always passes. Not because I want to make it pass, but it's because of the integrity of my testing.
Sure.
Now, why would I not be chosen if I want to do projects management? Because the integrity is there. So building yourself an integrity is also building an opportunity in the future.
Nice.
It speaks for you. Integrity speaks for you.
I like that. And then when you have discovered this, you get to varsity to start doing analytical chem.
Sure.
Right. What's the big shock that you're getting when you're there? Like you're like, okay, I didn't think I was gonna be doing this.
I don't think I've ever gotten to that position.
Okay.
Of getting a shot. I'm always I'm very curious. I'm very curious. Whenever I see something interesting, I want to go for it.
Sure.
Someone once said, hey, when you're an opportunist.
Okay.
Reason is, at work, whenever I'm doing something, if I see a gap, I go for it.
Sure.
If I see a gap for stats, I go for it. So that if it comes, I'm here. I'm here.
Sure.
So it's a matter of setting up yourself. Set up for a goal that you know that this is where I want to reach. Where you want to reach, as I've mentioned earlier on, with products, it goes through processes.
Sure.
Refining. Let's say for gold, you have to refine it for it to be pure. Pharmaceutical products, you have to refine them to be pure. Many things that needs to be, even for food, you have to refine it to meet a specific requirement. So it's a matter of, if you are doing something, yes, you have a goal. Yes, you have a target. But how do you get there is what will be required.
Nice. Now, I think I really love how the direction of our podcast.
Sure.
And there's so much that I've learned as well. I'm not too sure if there's something else that I actually wanted to get out of this podcast. But I think I kind of like just to understand what analytical chemistry is, which is probably why the first question was. But yeah, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much.
I enjoyed our conversation. And maybe to close it off is what is it that you can just tell someone who's listening, whether to encourage them, whether in their field or just generally encourage them?
Sure. I'll start from a person who's at high school. If you want to do something, set up for it. Now I'll tell you a story.
Sure.
I was once in high school. I was doing physics, chemistry. Okay, our physics was combined with physics and chemistry. I had geography, maths, and all that. I remember there was a day I was in class. a teacher called out a number of students to say, who wants to, we're doing chemistry in the section, chemistry section on the physics subject. Then she called out students. I also did them. I remember she literally said, no, Musa. You must think of something else.
Hey, my dude.
You must think of something else. This is not for you.
So the teacher said that.
The reason why it was the quality of my results.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I didn't set up my goals based on my current results because I knew where I'm going.
Sure.
I'm a qualified analytical chemist. I've done great things. I'm confident in saying that. I've done many things and I've successfully done many things. I've even looked into, as I'm saying now, I'm looking into statistics. It's something that is related to data so that I'm also one of the people who are the decision makers in the future.
Sure.
For anything, because most of the time we get data and many people just see data, numbers and information. But how to extrapolate or how to interpret the information,
sure.
Then I was told it requires data. So I want to do something that I can be an asset of, to impact and to change.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's listening, I want to encourage whatever goal you have, whatever goal you have set for yourself. Maybe it doesn't come easy, but don't settle for it not coming easy. Settle for where you are going. How it goes, we always have winter in every year. There's no year I've ever heard that, hey, there's no winter, there's no way.
It doesn't go on vacation.
It doesn't go on vacation. Autumn, leaves fall on ground. There's that season.
Yeah.
So, but seasons should not describe or determine where I'm going. But rather, seasons will help me to understand that where I'm going is better, because where I've set myself, look where I am now. I can say, if ever someone is challenging me on something, I'm able to say, I'm able to confidently apply things and to also interpret things, because I have experience on things that were challenging in my past. But today, there are milestones for me to say, no, don't do this way. No, don't do it. That's why we have mentors. Mentors, they help us to say, in any given moment, if you are having a challenge, your mentor knows.
Sure. I think I like that. The ability to still dream big despite any odds.
Sure.
It's a valuable lesson for someone to learn.
Sure.
And I mean, for, like you said, for high schoolers out there, if you look at your marks, I mean, now it's in March, so chances are you can still improve them, and we still have June exams and trials and all those other stuff. So just work on it, and if you want to be a CA, chartered accountant, engineer, just go for it. Don't say now I will change my mind on that. But yeah, thank you so much. It was really nice having you on the podcast. I'm looking forward to the next one. Awesome. Thanks, sir.
It's my privilege, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.